We did it! We finally got a Million Zenny! That means we can finally bring Teasel and Bonne back home! It took a little doing, but nothing I couldn't handle. And I couldn't have done it without your help. Thanks for everything.
She thanked us! Yay! Yay! 3 cheers for Miss Tron!
Let's not waste any more time. Let's get over to Lowe's.
Roger! Yes, Miss Tron! Is this Lowe's ship? It's big. It's so fancy. It's not like our ship at all.
Thank you for pointing that out. Now be quiet.
Yes, Miss Tron.
I'm Lex Loathe. Looking for me? Well, what have we here? A pretty young girl. Quite a strong-willed one, too. Now, why don't you tell me what you want with me, little missy?
You know why I'm here. I've come for my brother. Here's the Million Zenny my brother owed you. There, the debt's been settled. Give me back my brother.
Ho, ho, ho. Well, that's nice of you. You seem to understand how the world works, my dear. Let's see. 10, 20, 30. Looks a little short to me.
What are you talking about? There's a Million Zenny right there.
Yes, there is. But there's this little thing called interest, you see. If you borrow money, you have to pay interest on it. Let's see. This much? I need another 2 million Zenny.
What? Are you kidding? Do you think you can get away with this? It's crazy!
No, Missy. You're the one who's trying to get away with something. You think I'd just let anyone borrow that much? For free? That's as low a rate as I can give you. Count yourself lucky. Come back when you've got the money. Clyde, our guests are leaving.
Excellent, sir. Come with me.
Wait! You haven't told me where my brother is! Hey! Let go of me!
Stop! Let Miss Tron go!
Hey!
Scram! Get out of here! Hasta la vista!
Be seeing you, Missy. She's more useful than she looks, isn't she? But I can't let her have her brother back. Not when we're at such a critical stage. I'm counting on you, Clyde. Don't let me down.
I won't, Mr. Loathe. You have my word.
Oh, they make me so angry! If we only knew where Teasel was. I'm gonna get them for this. I guess we'll have to get that money if we want Teasel back.
We need 2 million Zenny, Miss Tron.
All right then. First we get Teasel and Bonne back, and then we take care of Loathe.
You bet! That's right! Go, Miss Tron!
You've been looking for new ways we can make money, right?
Yes, Miss Tron. We found some.
That's good! They'd better be worthwhile, or you're all in big trouble! All right then. Let's have a meeting and discuss our options.
Roger! Yay!
I mean, realistically speaking, you didn't think the game would be done in 3 parts, did ya? Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play The Misadventures of Tron, Bonne. In the last part, we got ourselves a Million Zenny after finishing off the Nakai ruins, and now we gotta do more shit. For 1,600 videos, a bit late on that, we're actually getting close to, I think, like 1,625-ish now, in terms of pure number, but I'll get more into why this is delayed later this part. For right now, before we head off into the new missions that have unlocked now that we've breached a Million Zenny, we got some items in the Nakai ruins in the last part. It's time for us to give those to the appropriate serve bots so we can get some new items. For instance, giving the iron plate to this particular serve bot unlocks the hard armor for development here in the lab for about a Million Zenny, I believe, which reduces damage taken by the Gustav by 75%. It's ridiculous. There's a reason it's that expensive. What do you think of that? It may be a little rusty, but still good too. You bet. Our science can't duplicate this technology yet. But if we repair it, we should be able to attach it to the Gustav. It won't make the Gustav too heavy or anything, will it? No. I wonder what the ancients used to make these. Well, let's give it a try. There! And we get E-Tank P. When it comes to the E-Tanks, which are the health ups, by the way, in case I forgot to mention that back in like part 1 when I got the first few, there are technically 8 of those throughout the game, and I believe at the moment we only have like 1 through 3 and P. There's still 4 more to go. We're technically only about the halfway point for the health of the Gustav, which is kinda ridiculous. Combine that with the hard armor, and the Gustav, from this point on in the game, is gonna be hard-pressed to die. Of course, I need to buy the hard armor first, but don't worry, there's a very quick way to get enough money really soon. And number 8. Miss Tron, did you know I'm a pretty good shot with a gun? Yes. Number 1 was telling me that, but you know people with bad eyes can't be snipers? I know, that's why I went out and bought contact lenses. But I dropped them when I was trying to put them on. I think they're around here somewhere, but I'm not sure where. Number 10. Miss Tron, I found them, here! And that was easy. Number 8 was looking for those, wasn't he? Yes, he was. I love it when the searches aren't even real searches. There they are, I was looking everywhere for them. Thank you, I'll put them on right away. Wow, I can see. Everything's so clear now. I bet I could go on a mission and be a sniper now. And that's how we unlock his sniper skill. With that said, he's never going to get used for that because we also got the ancient pistol last part. And that's just more important. But first, the memento. Isn't this part of the Gustav? You're right. I found it at the Nakai ruins. Then it must be from when Master Teisel went out on their mission. That's right, when he was... how did this get in there? Teisel never entered the Nakai ruins with the Gustav, so how did he get in there with it? But that does give you the green color scheme of the Gustav from the Marvel vs. Capcom games, so that's pretty useful. I'm glad he got his contact lenses back. But we also got that ancient pistol last part, so let's give that to him. Hey, this is a Tokarev. They were really famous hundreds of years ago. Any gun collector would love to add this to his collection. This is amazing. I feel like I could do anything now that I've got this. And he gains the sniper skill. He's the best sniper in the game with his stats, especially if we use the red head parts on him. I was thinking about giving my favorite Serpbot the red head parts, but I have to make sure I give it to someone I can count on to do a good job. Let's give it to number 10. I'm sure I can trust number 10. And when you make a Serpbot their favorite, their lowest stat has its potential raised as well as it gets raised in general. For instance, its brain stat was a minimum of 2 before, but now it's a minimum of 3 and it got raised to begin with. With this, he has the best stat out range out of everyone I think I can get in this game, period. And once I give him some cubes, I can make that even better. With that said, I'm still going to spend some time training him at the gym in both the A and B course to raise his stats to max, because otherwise, what's the point, right? So with that, let's now head over to Tron's room, because we also got an item in the Nakai ruins we can give to number 36 to unlock another song for the Gustav. This is an ancient musical instrument. We found it in the Nakai ruins. The ancients must have listened to music just as we do. An ancient lost civilization. I wonder what it was like. I'll write a song about it. So now that's another song you can talk to him to play in the Gesellschaft if you don't like the default theme. I like the default theme. I think it's nice and happy. So I'm going to be keeping it on that for the rest of the game, but you can play whatever you want. It's also, at this point I realized, oh shit, I forgot an item already, because you can also get a handkerchief by talking to number 16 here on the bridge after that cutscene with Loth at the start of the part. That's an impressive pattern, isn't it? It's pretty ugly if you ask me. I don't think we'll be able to use this for anything. Technically yes, technically no. We can't use it for anything legitimately helpful, but we can give it to number 35 in order to get another color scheme for the Gesellschaft. I believe it's a black and gold closer to Glide's color scheme. What's this? It's a pretty ugly handkerchief if you ask me. We found it at Mr. Loth's place when we went there. Well, it's not exactly my style, but if we painted the Gustav this color, it might not look too bad. What do you think? Well, I'm never painting the Gustav because I like the default pink, so, yeah. There's only 2 left in the game, 3 I believe if you're playing the Japanese version, because I think there was a single color scheme they took out for some reason. So now let's head on over to the gym so I can train number 10 in the ways of being good. Doing so can take some time. Some just due to the length of the training itself, but also because the precision needed for higher levels of training for attack and speed is kind of ridiculous. For instance, I think in attack for the 3rd portion of the max level for that, I think you need to hit over or around 60 targets, which is a lot. I'm not showing the process, I'm cutting it out just because it's the exact same minigame. You just have to get better and better at it as you go through. And in terms of the speed training, I think that's actually the easier of the two, as while you need to get more and more targets in as you go with that one as well, with the button combinations to feed the serve bots, I ultimately feel like the amount needed isn't as strenuous, considering you can easily memorize what those patterns needed are. It's just that it takes some time. I was here for maybe 20-30 minutes just getting this done, though. It takes some time, but trust me, especially for number 10 as a favorite, it is worth your time. Because it'll just make those future missions ever so much more simple. Also, while I was in the lab earlier, I ended up building the Gatling Gun Weapon, which is the 3rd of the 3 weapons for the Gustav in-game. Its specialty is rapid fire versus the Bonne Bazooka's power. While the Bonne Bazooka can take out some of the boss fights in very quick manner, I think it's a bit too harsh on the game's difficulty curve to do that, because I want the game to stand a chance in some regards, so the Gatling Gun's going to be my main weapon moving forward. With that, now it's time for us to go after our next mission. We're heading into the farm stage, mission number 5. The goal of this mission is to steal all the livestock from a ranch. Alright. This is sort of a spin-off the bank missions, honestly, just with some slightly different objectives. This time we're going to go after the Sart farm. I don't think there's a lot of money at a ranch, Miss Tron. Of course there isn't. What we're after are the animals they have there. And we'll make cheese and milk and yogurt and stuff and sell it, right? No, that's too much trouble to bother with. Although it does sound kind of fun. Nope, what we're going to do is sell them as quickly as possible. We've heard rumors that Mr. Loth is one of the owners of the Sart farm, Miss Tron. Really? Well then, it's like 2 birds with 1 stone, isn't it? I'll show him what happens if you mess with Tron, Bonne. I guess you're not all that hopeless after all. Alright, let's go. Yay! And while I switch the weapon, at this point the serve bots I'm bringing with me for missions aren't going to matter as much. There's still some I'm bringing along potentially just to raise their brain stats to hopefully unlock their special skills later on. But in the case that you already have who you want out of the game, like number 10 as a sniper, you can really bring in whoever at this point. And as you may have figured out by this point if you've been watching the entire time, the same goes for scouting. You can send whoever as long as it's someone that you're okay with not potentially getting a brain stat raise up for bringing them along on a main mission. Prioritize for scouting, I suppose, anyone who already has their brains maxed out or their brains or their special skills are already unlocked and they're not ones you want to use in missions. So with that, let's head on in.
Look, it's a piggy! A piggy!
Oink, oink.
Do pigs bite? Can't you guys sit still and be quiet? Even for a few minutes? Ah, here he comes!
Miss Tron, sorry to keep you waiting.
All right, everything's ready. Go get those pigs!
Yes, Miss Tron.
I want every pig on this ranch in this truck. Let's go!
Get all 6 pigs, target the pigs with a beacon bomb, and have the Serbots capture them. That is all you need to do on this mission. For instance, while you can still beacon bomb in the farm missions to raid houses, grab apples from trees, the things that we could do essentially in any of the other action stages with the Gustav, like the bank missions, the pigs here are your main target. You can grab other animals along the way, like there's going to be some potential bunnies, some cows in later missions that we can also grab for extra money, but you don't need to do anything else here. Additionally, I don't even think destroying the houses in these missions gives you any Zenny in and of itself. Only the items you get with the Serbots from within do. So there's not as much focus on destruction here as there is raiding. With that said, I would still recommend, if you're really a bit of a penny pincher and you want to make sure you have as much money as possible, grab every single one of the trees with a beacon bomb as well, as a lot of them do contain apples. There's something I forgot to mention when we got apples in part 1 during the bank mission from the one tree.
You got them all? Good! Let's move on to the other part of the ranch!
Yes, Miss Tron.
Is that there are 2 types of apples in the game. Red apples and green. Red apples are the ones you sell in the appraisal shop, while green apples are somehow a recovery item for the Gustav. I guess it has the Mr. Energy or whatever the hell it was from the DeLorean and Back to the Future Part 2, where it can just convert organic matter into energy cells. Odd, but okay. Something to keep in mind about these stages, though, as while they are ultimately safer than the main bank missions with the amount of things that can harm the Gustav, especially with the amount of health you'll probably have at this point in the game from the energy tanks we have thus far, is that the truck, as you might notice in the bottom right, has its own health bar. Things can damage it more easily than they can damage you. So in the case an attack's going towards it, you might just want to intercept it with your own body, just so you can keep the truck from being destroyed. As similarly to your own health bar, if the truck's health bar is depleted, the mission's counted as a failure. You have to start over. And the first enemies actually appear on this area, where we can also grab not only the rest of the 4 pigs, but also some bunnies and other animals to help boost our end of mission money boosts. With that said, the bird bots around here, I guess these aren't bird bots, that's the name of the things inside them. These bird mechs can damage you, you can also destroy them, and the bird bots piloting them can pop out similarly to the Serb bots during the certain boss fights in Mega Man Legends 1 and 2. Primarily 1 in that matter, though. And if you beacon bomb the Serb bot, or the bird bots, or shoot them beforehand, then do so, you can actively kidnap the bird bots and sell them for money in the appraisal shop. I'm going to assume it's just Glide buying them back because he wants his buddies back, but I don't know why. I just find the fact you can kidnap the guys oddly funny. I mean, we are playing the bad guy in this game, technically, so I guess it's understandable, but there's just something humorous about that concept. Mind you, it's also like it's one tiny robot being carried by an even technically smaller robot. This game, despite us playing villains and causing terror in certain local populaces, is oddly lighthearted in how it approaches its world, and I can't help but adore it for that. Mind you, I guess I would rather have it be that than war is hell, life is hell, or whatever The Last of Us 2 jokes I can make, because that game came out and it's a thing. It looks fun enough. I have no interest because I only thought The Last of Us 1 was okay. And that's Kyle's hot take of the week. With that said, like I mentioned in part 1 and 2, you can, if you like this type of mission, you can theoretically play the entire game like this just by replaying the higher levels of it over and over again. Like you can with the bank missions, or especially the crate missions. So if this is the kind of mission you're into, just go ham with it. The only missions nowadays I might actively ignore when playing through the game again is the RPG missions, just because they're mostly dialogue with relatively low payout. So there's just not as much reason for me to go back to them anymore. A shame too, because I think on a first playthrough they are the best ones. but ah well. Also, I don't know exactly what it is. I think it might be the fact that we're technically on a ranch with relatively flat textures. But there's just something about this area that reminds me of my Pokemon Ranch on the Wii. Oh shit, I think I still have like a Jirachi in there. I doubt my Wii's anywhere close to dying, but I should probably fish it out of there before things are too late. With that said, once you grab the 6th pig, the mission will technically end, but you still have to protect the truck as the boss fight will spawn. Although I say boss fight in quotation marks, as it's not much. I suppose one thing that is kind of annoying is that the serve bot who carries the pig, or the bird bot or whatever, does move a bit slow, but at the same time that also depends on the individual serve bot's speed stat, so train your serve bots better. Smile.
I don't know who or what these are, but I'm not going to let them get in our way.
Alright, boss fight is just like 3 or 4 of the pink bird bots rather than the blue ones. Like most RPG recolors, they just have slightly more HP and might do a bit more damage. It's not that threatening. Honestly, if I were to compare this mission when you get to this point to anything, it's the section of Mega Man Legends 1 when the Bonnes are attacking Cadillac's town and Cadillac's town hall. Particularly with the mechs that are flying around dropping the destroyer mechs. They're about as strong as those, at least for the weapon strength you'll probably have at this point in the game. It's not much to worry about whatsoever.
Wait, that's one of Lode's bird bots. They must have come here to stop us. Well, we've got the pigs. I suppose we can let them go.
We did it! We got the pigs! Yay!
And that's the first level of Mission 5. It's not much of difficulty. You get some pretty decent payout for this, though. 150,000 for the 6 pigs, and then all the other things you grab along the way. Not bad. Though I think the farm missions are too short, and they don't have enough things you could beacon bomb to potentially raise the brain stats much, if at all. But we do have access to 2 new areas of the Gesellschaft, the deck as well as Teasel's room. We'll be checking those out in a moment because I need to go sell the items that I got. At this point, the only items I don't recommend selling are anything you can technically get off of cop cars in the bank missions, as they can reduce the costs for development. This is the deck. There's not much purpose to it. All clear. Visibility is good. Wow, what a great view. It just pulls you in, doesn't it? Don't get too close to the fence. Oh, Jesus! Oh, thank God he's alive. Although, are serve bots organic? I think they're supposed to be mechanical, and the name would imply it. So would they just fall down and bounce off the ground and go, ow, and then just put their arm back on that fell off and then leave? Hey, Teasel's room looks familiar. Miss Tron, I found a piece of paper with writing in it on Master Teasel's room. Huh? This? This is a memo about making bottles. Maybe I should take it to the development room. This is a nice little Mega Man Legends 1 callback. This is the room where Teasel's watching his TV when he sees that the attack on Cadillac's Town Hall failed. That's just really cool. What's the matter, number 13? Look, Miss Tron, I found this. Bonne parts? This is one of Bonne's special training parts, isn't it? Even though he was hard to take care of, I still miss him, Miss Tron. When I think about what Loth might do to him, take him apart or something, Don't cry. I'll make sure both Teasel and Bonne get back safely. I promise. The Bonne parts are another item we can use on number 35 in the meeting room to gain another color scheme for the Gustav. In particular, I believe it turns you into his general color scheme of yellow with a bit of a darker than that yellow orange. Construction colors, almost, essentially. I don't really use the paint schemes much, as you may notice, though. If I don't stick with the general pink, I'll switch the Gustav to the Mega Man blue scheme, the green scheme of the Teasel scheme that's used in Marvel vs. Capcom, and maybe the Loth color scheme, because I do like that color combo enough. It took him a long time, but number 30 was able to make a new part. If he can do it, so can I. Let's see, if we put that here and this there. There you go, that's the spirit. Hey, number 33, what are you doing? Huh? Eureka, I did it. I figured out how to make an E-Bottle 3. Great, keep up the good work. Yes, Miss Tron. And for some reason, only after you hear that dialogue, number 33, can you use the bottle parts that we just got in Teasel's room on number 33. I don't know why that particular flag is there. I guess so you don't make sure you can miss certain dialogue. For some reason, I think you have to talk to number 30 first. But if you use the bottle parts on number 33, you unlock the Energy Bottle 4, which is another higher level recovery item for use mid-stage. This is amazing! Everything you need to make bottles is written down in here! Master Teasel is incredible! With this, I can make an E-Bottle 4! And there we go. With that said, let's now head back to HQ and go on our next mission after I do the usual scouting routine. With that said, though, I should note, it's very easy to make this mistake, like me if you're on my test playthrough. The mission we're going to do now is Mission 6, not Mission 2, Level 2. It's another container type, but instead of being where the first container mission is, right about above where number 30 is, we're actually heading towards the other pier on the other side of the island. Don't be like me in my test recording and accidentally pick the wrong mission. We'll get to that other mission eventually anyway, but this is the order in which I'm taking. So again, not this one, this one. The goal of this mission is to go back to the harbor and get more cargo containers. Yeah, that's about the short of it. Servbot-wise, I'd recommend bringing in number 4 over number 10, as if you get a brain up, I'd rather him have it than number 10 at this point, since number 10's about maxed on that anyway. But still. Our target this time is Primiki Harbor. I've heard that a lot of expensive merchandise goes in and out of there every day. What are we going to get this time, Miss Tron? Apple containers. I've also have a report that says there's melon containers there too. Apples! Melons! Listen carefully. The number of containers we can lift is different at each dock. You mean the containers aren't all the same weight? It looks that way, but don't give up too soon. There's lots of equipment at the docks we can use to help us move the containers. We'll get them all, or my name's not Tron Bonne. Let's go. Yes, Miss Tron.
Today, we're here to pick up some fruit, okay? Boy, there's sure a lot of containers in the way. I wonder if we'll be able to get them all.
Miss Tron, look! There's a forklift over there. I can use it to help you.
I appreciate it, but are you sure you know what to do? Like, where to move which container when?
Let's see. If there's a fruit container, I'll carry it to the ship.
Well, that's basically it. Tell you what, I'll move the containers out of the way for you, okay?
Hooray!
All right then. Let's get the forklift first, okay?
As you might be able to tell based off that alone, the Mission 6 cargo missions are a little bit different thanks to these forklifts.
I can help you move things with this forklift, Miss Tron. Just tell me which containers you want moved to the ship.
The goal in these is less to have Tron lift every single box to the ship and figure out ways around the other boxes, but to instead move the other boxes in such a way to create a pathway for the forklift to lift the boxes to the ship, so you don't need to worry about the how many spaces you can carry X type of container. I really like this particular set of missions. although something I don't show off on the first go-around there, is that if you hold down, I believe it's the X button on the PlayStation controller while you're lifting, while the forklift is moving one of the various crate types, you can speed it up. I believe I do it right here just to show how much faster it is than the first time around. Yeah, that's a lot faster. These missions, you need to think in less of a 2D grid-based system, but more of a 3D grid-based system, because you need to keep in mind you can also jump onto some of the crates in order to pick them up and move them elsewhere to create a pathway. I really like this mission type. I've seen people in other LPs and even certain walkthroughs mention that if Capcom were to make a new Mega Man Legends game on mobile and it was just this minigame, they wouldn't be too disappointed by that, and honestly, I agree. I think this is a really fun little minigame that could be its own self-serving puzzle game. Would I rather have Mega Man Legends 3 or even a Misadventures of Tron Bonne 2 first? Yes. But at the same time, I also realize that there's worth in the smaller things. I do find it silly that despite supposedly being a different dock, though, they use the exact same map, just with more complicated mechanics. Something I also greatly appreciate about this type of stage in the game is that even if you mess up, the game is really forgiving. If you press, I believe it's the start button, you bring up a menu where you can restart the particular pier you're at, so you can just get a free reset without any punishment. Or you can just leave the mission period from there. I think there might even be an option to go back to the previous dock and redo it in case you messed up. Don't call me on the last one. I might be thinking of a different puzzle game. I feel like if this game was made today, they might include like a short-term undo button. Like say you place a box down too early, you can at least undo and pick it back up upwards of maybe 3 times per stage. Similar to what something like Catherine did back when that game was released, though I'd say that just remembering that Full Body was released and I have zero interest in it. If anything, the Atlas game I poured a lot of time into the past year is twofold, actually. It was Persona 5 Royale when that came out because I loved the hell out of the original game, and Royale just accentuated my love even more. But then there was that surprise Persona 4 Golden PC port, which I loved and have already beaten. Still need to go back for the New Game Plus exclusive stuff, such as the Ultimate Persona, new Super Boss, and all that, but I'll get to that eventually. I just don't feel like putting in another 60 plus hours into that game right now after I've already put like I think 110 into the base game. Still not as long as Persona 5 because I think my Royale run was 126 hours. And that's coming from someone who knew the original game pretty well. Something I also do appreciate about these stages though is just how comprehensive the maps are on the side of the screen. As very often on the first playthrough, I remember distinctly just staring at the maps trying to figure it out rather than trying to look and move around on the map itself and see where I can go. There's just something about that bird's eye view that really helps make these puzzles feel that more comprehensible. And not that they're exactly hard puzzles, I don't think many of these puzzles are outright hard, except for maybe... The last one in this set can actually be a little bit of a doozy on the first run. And the level 3 of each type, I think, has some decently hard puzzles. A good strategy I distinctly recommend if you have the graph paper lying around is to just like open up a graph notebook like you used to use in like math class or whatever, and draw the maps in there and see if you can figure it out using that. It's surprisingly effective because it just allows you to focus more on it than the visual distractions around you in the game. Not that there's many of those, but it can, if it helps you, it helps you. It's kind of like what I used to do in Lolo, for that matter. Lolo 1, I used to draw it in graph notebooks and try to figure out exactly where I should move what items to what half block to block what amount of Medusas or things of that nature. Also, that jump cut was because I was wandering around for a solid 20 seconds there forgetting, oh wait, I can just grab that. Brain farts are very common in my head. Especially, admittedly, when I hadn't practiced this section as much as I should have. The main portions of this game I practiced were the action stages, as well as Nakai Ruins. The puzzle stages I did practice, just not as much. because I figured I'd be able to remember the solutions more easily rather than just having to worry about action stage problems being raised. So far in my experience, the opposite has happened. I've been fine in the action stages without even the need for practice, while the puzzle stages I probably should have practiced a bit more. Well, we'll see what happens. This stage in particular, I think, really highlights the Mission 6 specialties over the Mission 2 specialties, as you just outright need to clear a pathway through this maze of boxes. And the most important thing I can note about this stage in particular is remember that you can also fire a beacon bomb while holding a box, even if it's one you can't move while holding, as that can make or break your strategy. Like so. Because of this particular setup, this puzzle is particularly interesting to me because by the time you start picking up boxes, the puzzle's already solved. Because the Servbot can just move from one box to the next. You just need to be careful about where you place yourself. For instance, make sure you're over here so he can grab this box. This is really well thought out puzzle solving, and I'm almost surprised to see it out of a Mega Man game of all things, because this franchise isn't well known for its puzzles outside of maybe the occasional one in the Battle Network and Star Force series. And that's it. They're much more known for their action elements, as it's generally been the genre of the franchise, admittedly. So the fact that they're able to get such a solid puzzle game out of this is incredible to me. Also, while I know this game has its minor graphical quirks, I gotta say, for the PlayStation, this is probably one of the best looking games on the system. As I think they got the great balance of anime art style that worked on the system between just making textures for the faces, and enough solid geometry that the system could pull off without having to chug, while still stylizing it to fit the world that it's in. All three Legends games look great, but Tron, Bonne, and Legends 2 I think are two of the best looking games on the system, period. And that's the mission. The dialogue at the end here doesn't change for some reason compared to even to the main container mission type. Harder. I'd say Mission 6 is generally harder than Mission 2, because you have to keep in mind that you're not trying to move the boxes yourself, you're more so trying to have the forklift lift them. But I think it's more interesting for it because of that. And plus you turn a pretty damn good profit for it all the same. Let's see, for those 15 containers, 210,000, hot damn. With that, though, let's take a break before heading into our next major mission. Let's head on... Well, first I have to go sell things over in storage. But from there, let's head on over to Tron's room. As once you've made a favorite Servbot, you can do an entirely different quest line of sorts that's pretty good for making money, but it's also a bit too abusable for my own tastes. You must be tired walking around so much, Miss Tron. Why don't you take a rest? No, without me watching, everyone will goof off. Why don't you leave one of us, your favorite, in charge? That's not a bad idea. Maybe just for a little while. What will you do, Miss Tron? I could use a rest. I think I'll relax for a bit. Tell number 10 to wake me up in a couple of hours, okay? Yes, Miss Tron. And now number 10's in charge. Time for the world to burn. What should we do? I know, let's go on a mission to get Miss Tron some more money. And an exclusive mission to when Tron's taking a nap is mission ? Make money at the casino. It's gambling time, baby. Wow, look at all the games. Welcome to... wait, aren't you... Uh-oh. Don't worry, a customer's a customer. Come in, relax, enjoy yourself. Well, what game do you want to play today? Or do you want to learn the rules of a game? The casino only has 2 games to it. Bingo and high or low. Or high and low, technically. we're going to start off with high and low, because it's the easier to explain one, as well as just the least efficient one. For every amount of Zenny you play, you get to make a bet on whether or not the next card is going to be higher or lower than the revealed one. General rule, though, if it's a non-numbered card, like I think they're called face cards, go for lower, but if it's a number card below 9, I'd say go for higher. It's possible to get to the end and you can get some good money out of just a single game of this, but it's just much less efficient than bingo is, as it's much more 50-50 for your money rather than... it's 50-50 for relatively low payouts until much higher card amounts compared to bingo's bingo-ness, as we'll see in a moment. Because bingo in this game is about as you'd expect, but it has some interesting twists thrown in. To start with, you have 3 bingo boards that you can bet on, a total of, I think, 3 or 4 times each to a max of, 1,500 per card, so 4,500 total, which is most of the Zenny I bring in at this point, because you bring in 8,000 to start. But as you can see, each card has 3 free spaces marked off. Depending on your luck, you can technically get a bingo within 2 rolls of the, cylinder, the number generator. And as you can see, based off the bar directly above the serve bot, you can get payups of upwards of 500 times your bet because of that. It's absurdly rare, but depending on your luck, you can spend a couple of days here just kind of doing 5 minutes here or there and gain a lot of money really quickly. In fact, that's exactly what I do. One of the reasons this video has taken so long to make is because I just spent maybe 5 or 6 minutes every day for like a week doing bingo for that and seeing how much money I can get out of it. More often than not, is even if you bet for all 4,500 on all 3 bingo boards, you're more than likely to make a profit every single time you do it. I've only not gotten a bingo a handful of times, because I do believe the RNG is slightly stacked against you. At least I feel like it is for the higher values, because in my experience, it's generally really hard to get 500 to 100 times multipliers, but maybe around 64 to 32 or lower. Generally, chances are more tilted in your favor, I'd say. With that said, if you can get lucky enough to somehow get 3 stars, or 3 of the free spaces on a single line that you could potentially get a bingo on, hope the chances are in your favor. I think this place can be worth your time, especially considering it's just fun little distractions with no real long-lasting impact. With that said, it's also very abusive if you know what you're doing to make money here, because you can easily turn the 8,000 Zenny you bring here into nearly 900,000. That is from the process of me spending a couple minutes here every couple of days just to make some extra money. And yeah, it's pretty easy to make money here. Phew, going on a mission's not as easy as it seems. We better wake up Miss Tron now. With that said, since that's such an absurd amount of money, I'm immediately going to spend it so that it doesn't end up going to waste, so we don't end up triggering near endgame events that quickly. So I'm going to buy myself that hard armor, although I am going to use the cost-reducing items that I have just to make it 12,000 less. And with that, we're relatively close to where we were to begin with. The hard armor's worth it, but with it I've not trivialized the rest of the game as much as the Bonne bazooka does, but still it's going to be a lot simpler moving forward. With that, after we do our scouting, it's time for us to head out on a mission once again, but at this point we've done all the unique mission types throughout the game. There are 7 types including the casino, which are the Nakai Ruins, the RPG, the 2 crate types, and the 2 action types, the farm and bank. So now let's head into bank level 2. The mission doesn't change, but what we do within it does, essentially. And that can be best summarized through the details panel this time around. Alright, this time we're really going after the bank. We'll land in front of the bank and get out before they know what hit them. Yes, Miss Tron. We'll be more careful this time. The police will probably try to stop us again, but we can take care of them. Alright, let's go. Aye aye, Miss Tron. And thankfully the game already had number 10 selected for some reason. But I am going to make sure I bring in some slightly different serve bots just to make sure I got something better set up. Something I've actively never done, though, is roughly from this point onwards, just use the starting gun on the Gustav. I'm always using either the Bonne bazooka or the Gatling gun, more often than not the Gatling gun between those two. So I'm not exactly sure how the game's difficulty proceeds with the starting weapon.
Huh? Wait a second. Isn't this...
Sorry. We ended up in front of the animal hospital again.
Don't you ever learn from your mistakes? How could you do this again? When we get back, I'm gonna have to punish all of you! Oh no! We're sticking with the plan. We're walking to the next town and robbing the bank!
Roger!
So we have to redo the entire first portion of the original bank mission, but this is only to our benefit because we can get more money through this. All the money you could have gotten in this section on the first part of the game respawns, including even the golden statue inside the animal hospital. With that said, there are a few more dangers this time around. First off, the NPCs in the area will actively attack you now. And by that I mean the young boys. They will throw rocks at you, which they don't do much damage, but they throw them with enough rapidity, and there's enough of the young boy NPC types that if you let them build up, they can do some hefty damage to you if you're not paying attention. What I recommend doing, shoot them. Violate those Geneva Conventions. With that said, I still recommend beacon bombing every house, beacon bombing every tree to potentially get some apples. I'm not doing that as much here just to save on some time for the video. And something I actively forgot to do on the first run is make sure you also beacon bomb any trash cans you see along the way, as you can actively get some items from them, namely usually rings, which I believe are usually sold for about 5,000 Zenny-ish. Every little bit of money in this game helps and counts, so make sure you use everything to your best advantage. There's only really one action I'd say outside of the necessary one to complete the mission that you should do in this area though, and that comes into play when we go more around the island, as there's going to be one house in particular you can beacon bomb and raid to get 2 items we need for served bot quests. This is still my favorite portion of the game just because there's something chaotic in its nature enough, or chaotic enough to its nature that it just feels really good compared to the other ones, which are more by the numbers adventure type quests. Oh, that poor man. Now, that's not going to say, though, that this is still going to be easy. I'd say this is the mission where the game's difficulty really starts to pick up outside of the Kai ruins, as you're going to have a lot more to worry about, and even with the heavy armor, or the hard armor, you can still take damage pretty quickly. Namely in terms of the boss fight we're going to see later on in this stage. It's almost kind of ridiculous. There's the rocks the kids are throwing. Have a tree. No, that felt good. You'll also see me often instinctively double check every house, because in the case of Servbot gets stunned, I'm not sure if I got all 6 items from every house or not. It's not necessary at all, because again, you can get enough money just from beating the missions to usually beat the game. Anything you get during the mission itself is just bonus cash you can use towards any goals you might have. But again, we're in kind of dire straits for money, technically speaking. Not so really, but you know what I mean. Every money counts. From around this point on, though, the cops are going to start coming into play and actively attack you. With that said, like in the first mission, I recommend beacon bombing every cop car, as that allows you to steal their tires and their alarms on the top, which can help reduce development costs in the lab. Not to mention, just throwing the cop cars themselves at the cops can cause them to explode, and you can get money from that as well. We are going to get something a bit different this time around, though, in that the cops will actively try to avoid you, particularly that next set of cop cars beyond. If you get too close to them, they'll actively drive away and end up in a different location to try and still shoot you from. Additionally, there's going to be cop planes, which can do a lot of damage pretty quickly if you don't shoot them down. However, they're also very easy to ignore, as there's a couple of locations throughout this stretch where you're going to be behind a rock wall like the one just in front of us. My best advice, just make sure you beacon bomb as much as you can. Throw the cop cars at each other or even at the other cops just so you don't have to worry about much. We are going to start seeing a new type of cop in this mission period, though, starting from, I think, around the next curve. Technically 2 types, even. Ones that will attempt to ram their cars into you, jumping out at the last moment to try and cause some direct damage to the Gustav. And riot cops. The riot cops have shields that the base Gustav weapon cannot do much against. However, the Gatling gun, as well as beacon bombing them, allows you to take away their riot shields, which not only serve as weapons you can sell in the shop or reduce development costs in the lab, but also just allows you to make them easy to shoot. This house right here is the one you need to make sure you raid, as you get 2 different books from it, magazines technically, that are used for quests with the serve bots. So make sure you do that and then blow it up. I should also note that the riot cops will constantly spawn out of the riot van in front of us until you destroy it. So theoretically you could use them as a decent grinding source for money, or at least to reduce costs in the development lab. But I just don't think that's worth the time, so just beacon bomb those you can potentially get the shields out of, and then take care of the rest however you see fit. Also, I don't know why, but there's something really cool about low poly cars in games. I don't know why, but the tricks they use to just make them look good look great.
Like it's under construction. That's what the sign said.
Next time, tell me before we get on it. Never mind. Now we need to find a way out of here.
Take a guess what you have to do. If it's beacon bombing, you're right.
Now let's get out of here! Roger!
Something about the continuity of that cutscene looks off. It might be the fact it looks like it goes off that bridge at around 90 miles an hour, somehow ends up below where it was and facing another direction. I'll just theorize that it went so fast and opened up a wormhole in reality, and therefore things don't work the way they did 10 minutes ago. Here's the type of cop I mentioned a moment or two ago. They will completely forgo their car insurance and just drive their car into you. With that said, it's not that hard to dodge. Either jumping over it or strafing can get past it no problem. Now, I think they can outright damage other cops with it after they've jumped out of the car. With that said, the Bonne bazooka could get you in a little bit of trouble here, as you might remember, when you use the Bonne bazooka, you can't move and shoot at the same time. Depending on where you place your shots, you could just end up standing still while a car is barreling into you, and there's not much you can do at that point. It's one of the other reasons I don't use the Bonne bazooka too much. I think the lack of movement ends up harming you more than doing you good. With that said, we are approaching the main goal of the mission, just beyond this particular rock wall. There's one more police van, and then the tunnel that leads to the bank itself. Though we are going to have one more unique enemy type, technically, in that we're going to have a bit of a different police van past here. This one's going to be made out of solid gray, and the gray one we cannot actively destroy. However, it'll also drive to try and block your pathway. What do? You beacon bomb it. It's kind of the rule of thumb in this game. If you have a question about something and your shots aren't doing it, beacon bomb it. As when you beacon bomb it, the serve bots will hold it still for about 2 seconds maybe. Long enough to the point you can walk past it, but not enough time to the point where you can dilly-dally. Like, they're already done. So just walk past it, and we're good. Time for the boss fight for the mission. Although there is a weird silent portion where you just kind of stand here and be like, you couldn't just direct me into the cutscene from here? Really?
We're taking you in this time. Well, what do you know? You made it on time today. Did you get a new alarm clock or something? Oh, stop making fun of me. We'll see who has the last laugh. I've been doing special simulations just for this.
She's not lying. Denise has seen a couple of upgrades since Mission 1. With that said, I do recommend taking some time at the start of this boss fight to not only raid the bank and— oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, that's part of the special training. Raid the mailbox, the trash cans, and the bank around here to get some extra money before actively fighting her. But as for the strategy here, whenever you attack Denise, she will just start gunning it for you. She will outrun you in any instance, and when she gets too close, she will do that over-the-shoulder throw. The only way you can avoid that is by either damaging her again by throwing something at her or stunning her with the serve bots. I'd recommend throwing just because it allows you to get some extra damage in, but the serve bots are a more valid strategy depending on your distance. With that said, what kind of training did you do to throw a good probably 800 pounds of metal in person like that? God damn. That's incredible. The damage here isn't to be underestimated, though, as the cops taking pot shots at you can build up very quickly. Not to mention they spawn endlessly from the van there in the back, so focus on Denise as much as you can. And if you're running low on HP, don't forget if you have any energy bottles to use them. And play this fight safe. It's very easy, even with the hard armor, to take a lot of damage very quickly here. Although I do find the visual angle of her freaking spinning a serve bot when you send them at her and her throwing it across the world also incredibly humorous. God damn. How did she go from probably their worst cop to easily like an 80s action movie star that I want to see happen? I want to see more people throwing robots over their shoulder like this. It's incredible. Unless Michael Bay has something to do with it, in which case keep him the hell out. It's kind of like that, even though it's not like that at all, actually, the more I think about it. It's kind of like that movie, Real Steel, the robot Rocky movie from 2013, maybe? Like, I would have loved to see this kind of action in that. Throw enough things at her, though, and she's down.
Is this the best you can do? Even after your special training? Maybe you should consider another line of work.
Maybe you're right. I try and I try, but I just can't seem to get anything right. Miss Tron, we took all the gold.
Okay, let's get out of here. Say, that's not a bad haul. We'll have to try this again.
Why can't anything go right? Maybe I should give up and look for another job.
Cheer up. Something's bound to go right for you sooner or later. You just have to keep your chin up. Come on, guys, let's go home. hard enough, something good will happen. I hope.
And that's the second bank stage. Definitely harder than the first one. In fact, that's why I recommend taking care of all the level 1 missions first, because the Denise fight, if you don't have the proper defenses or HP, can take out your health really quickly, depending on your priorities. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 4, we're going to be taking on more missions on their second level. We also got an engine room available to us that we'll be able to explore. Thank you guys again for sticking around for 1,600 videos, and too many, many more. What do you mean I already have probably over the next 100 on my hard drive? Shh, be quiet. Take it easy. See you guys then.